myself quickly to you guys, and then we'll jump straight in. So my name's Ian. I'm the comms guy over at DAP Radar. And today we're really excited to be sitting down with Rhys, who's from one of the premier centralized NFT marketplaces, VeVe. What's up, Rhys? For those that have been under a rock for the last year, can you give us hit us with the elevator pitch for VeVe, man? Tell us about
VeVe, you reckon? Yeah. So VeVe is a app-based marketplace that lets you collect premium licensed digital collectibles. So through our marketplace, you can obtain common, rare, ultra rare, one-of-a-kind digital collectibles right across your favorite fandoms, be it sport or art or pop culture, or we have a number of product verticals. And with those collectibles and through the app, you can then share them across socials, interact with your collection in augmented reality, and of course, openly trade them with the VeVe community, all from the palm of your hand.
Very nice. And the elevator doors have opened, and I'm about to download it. That's really good. You've summed that up really well. Obviously, it's very relevant this year, and not just this year, but overall, NFTs have really come into the spotlight. But today, what we want to do is we're going to give the audience a chance to fire in some questions, because I'm sure they've got some. I think we've got a bit of a mixed bag here of kind of DAP Radar people and maybe VeVe people. So they come together for the first time, and it'll be really interesting to see what kind of questions they've got. So for all you listeners, make sure you really think about those questions, make them as good as possible. The 10 best questions will get chosen, and each person will receive $10 worth of Omi tokens, which is the underlying token of the VeVe platform. So let's dive right in, Rhys, unless you've got anything you want to sort of get at.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I'll just say a big welcome to everybody in your community and mine. There is a VeVe drop taking place right now, so I dare say a few more will join us in a moment. But
of course, this is usually the time I'm hitting that button on my phone. Of course, I can imagine there's a lot of people out there doing the same thing. Yeah. So VeVe as a platform has really kind of come in and been a big. It's a big deal, man. Like it's you've got some huge names onboarded straight from the get-go. So can you just tell us a bit about like that process of like choosing the brands, choosing the affiliations, and how you kind of selected, and like what was the idea behind it?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the first thing to understand is that we really offer premium brands on VeVe. Everything is curated and hand selected by David Yu, our CEO. So that was really the first goal, or the first point of difference, to really try and bring these IP holders into the digital space. That's really how things started to develop. As to sort of the order that we managed to sign some of these licenses and things like that, I mean, you said yourself that VeVe's kind of come out swinging this year, but we've been building this for the better part of 4 years now. Right. And in that time, these relationships have been fostered. And the way that the industry works, once you kind of have your foot in the door with one brand, you're connected to the next one, and everybody starts to kind of pay attention. So our journey certainly hasn't been a short one, but one of the primary goals was always to try and bring these premium licenses into the NFT space, because we really saw that as the best opportunity to onboard mainstream users into NFTs, as opposed to trying to convert them into the actual technical side of NFTs and then bring brands out.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Rhys. I think that's interesting to think of it, rather than going after the sort of Ethereum maximalists and the blockchain crowd. You've actually gone for a question I've got later is around the application and stuff. But so we'll get into that, man. But it's like you've obviously set yourselves up for world domination pretty well from the offset, and it's looking like a strong move so far.
Yeah, that was certainly the plan.
It makes sense, right? Like, and I think customers appreciate the fact that you're bringing premium brands and things that they recognize. So it's I can see the benefit there. Absolutely, man. Have you, from a kind of, I'm quite interested in this from my own perspective. Do you see more demand for these kind of old school stuff? Like, I'm really into the Marvel stuff, right? But I would say my loyalty is a bit further back, so anything in the sort of the original comics and stuff is more kind of piquing my interest. But have you seen bigger demand for the old stuff or the new stuff, or is it just all flying off the shelf? Like, what's the kind of...
Yeah, it's all flying off the shelves at the moment. So I don't know that I could really discern between, if people are more interested in one or the other. But I mean, I guess that's the beauty of the range of content that we really do offer on VeVe. We truly believe that everybody is a fan of something, and we're trying to provide content in all of those fandoms. So yeah, I definitely know personally a lot of people who are stoked on, Back to the Future and the Ghostbusters collectibles and those kind of things, because there's that real nostalgic value. It depends on what you grew up with as to what you're into. But we've seen just as much demand for the newer stuff and the new Marvel drops and all of that stuff too. So
that's an interesting point as well about the kind of demographic, isn't it? Because you talked about Ghostbusters and kind of Back to the Future. Now I'm in my 30s and those movies are very close to my heart, but they wouldn't be close to my cousin, for example, who's in his 20s, probably maybe Back to the Future potentially. But I suppose some of these brands you've chosen kind of timeless, right? Back to the Future is a classic. It's not just from the 90s.
Exactly. And from an IP perspective, I mean, we're actually we're really helping these brands or these IPs move into the digital space. Like I personally haven't walked into a store and bought a DeLorean time machine figurine in the last 15 years, but I bought the digital version, because it's accessible and fun. So yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity for both sides, I think.
Another interesting point that had never occurred to me. You're right. I'm not a big comic collector. I don't have stacks of them in boxes, but I do now have stacks of digital. I guess it comes and I mean, we can talk about this now. I think there's a movement here, right? A digital movement where people's space is restricted. Like people are living in smaller homes. They've got less room necessarily, like potentially. So the idea of digital collectibles to me makes perfect sense, but to some people, they still get bewildered by it. Do you want to just, because I think we're on the same page, like I think you'll do a much better job of kind of articulating that, but what's the point of them, man? Like what's not what's the point, but more like why are people jumping on this whereas they may have not jumping on physical goods? Like what's happening here?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you touched on one really core reason there that I think we'll see play out over the next few years as we really get used to this digital content, digital space arena, and that is that people really are running out of room. Like we have less stuff these days, or we aim to have less stuff. And digital content and digital media gives you the same nostalgic value and all of that as a physical possession, but obviously you can carry it around in your pocket. So, that's the first thing. I think the second point is that accessibility, right? Like if I was to sell a physical comic, I have to find someone somewhere in the world who wants that comic and is obviously looking for it. And then, find them on eBay, pack it up, ship it across, hope that it gets there in time or safely and all of those kind of things. So digital collectibles really cut that out of the mix. I can sell you something across the world in fractions of a second, using the VeVe app. So I think access definitely opens things up. I think the changing demographic as well, now that we're seeing this huge wealth transfer from the boomers to the millennials and the Gen Zs and all of these things. But fundamentally, that transition is moving towards a more digitally native collective of people. So I just think that the digital experience in general is becoming more comfortable, and with it, so too is digital ownership.
Yeah, I really agree with that, Rhys. I think, I mean, let's take it another step. Like, so we're talking about walking around with with digital collectibles in our wallet. Now, if we take it to the next step, in my mind, the next logical step is a Ready Player One scenario where we're kind of, forgive me, anyone who hasn't seen Ready Player One, you really should, or read the book, even better advice. But that kind of seems like the next step for me, whereby you'll showcase these collections. And already in VeVe, you guys are allowing people to showcase stuff. So you guys must also be thinking about this, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, one of the biggest parts of collecting, whether it's physical world or digital world, is showing off, frankly, and enabling a way to show off, right? And the VeVe showrooms and the augmented reality have really enabled that so far, and I personally think led to a lot of our success, because it lets people share that content, and get excited and take photos with it and those kind of things. But you're right. I mean, that at this stage is still very rudimentary as to where this is going. So, we're all building towards a wearable future, wearable AR glasses or VR glasses. For us, we've chosen the AR route more so, because in 5 or 10 years, when we're really living in this digitally enhanced world, you're going to want premium digital content, and that's what we now provide through VeVe. So yeah, I think the next real iteration of these technologies will be wearables, and then that will lead to that sort of digital overlay of our physical world.
Absolutely, yeah, I can really see that happening, and I suppose it's been sort of reiterated recently with just to talk about Decentraland's Metaverse Festival. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the first times I kind of stepped into the metaverse for a reason, as such. Before that, it's been kind of just walking around, seeing what's going on.
Yeah,
And I was jealous, man. I was jealous. I was seeing I was seeing people's wearables,
yeah,
and I know they're digital and I know it's not technically real, but I'm jealous. Like, I got some serious FOMO. So I can
yeah,
see, like, what you said is exactly right, that they're like, you want to show off, don't you? And arguably in the digital world, you actually got more of an opportunity to show off than in the real world. Because in the real world, you kind of
exactly.
keep all your stuff in your house, right? And no one really sees it.
Yeah.
But now we're flipping it over to the point, even so, you can look inside people's blockchain wallets. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how far can we go, Rhys? Like, full disclosure of
Well,
everything I can see.
yeah, it goes further. It definitely goes further, and I mean, if you take wearable AR glasses that we'll be, walking around with, and then I'll be able to see you with your digital puffer jacket on in the real world,
Yeah,
in augmented reality, or you walk into somebody's home and they have their NFT artworks pinned to the wall, right? They're not actually there or
very
taking
true.
up space, but you'll see them through your wearable AR glasses, or you walk down the street and there's a giant Batman floating over your city, and it airdrops you collectibles. Like, honestly, the
Yeah.
potential of this technology is endless.
And
And yeah,
sorry, man, go on.
you're right. You're right. No, I was just going to say, I really think it will help to gamify our lives a little bit, and just make that
Yeah.
walk down the street a little bit more fun.
And I think, sorry, the reason I kind of jutted in there is just because
Mm,
I'm from a marketing background. And when you spoke about that, that's something I'm also thinking about. These, like you say, giant, you're walking through the metaverse, and the potential for marketing here is huge as well, obviously. And we've
yes.
not seen it to a massive extent as yet, but we're seeing it. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, it's kind of similar to what we're discussing, but you see it go, I see it going that way first, like other things, and then it becomes a bit more of a user-friendly space. Like, I don't know. That's just my kind of
Mm. Yeah,
look on it.
yeah.
But
I think we'll see both, right? I mean, these metaverses still need to generate some sort of revenue to be operational.
sure.
And typically that sort of ad spend or something like that would be the first port of call.
Mhm.
But in these digital spaces, I mean, you just have the opportunity to literally recreate any physical product for the digital world, plus add new animations or digital experiences or gamification or anything like that. So, I mean, I think the marketing model will change,
Yeah.
because it is getting harder to grab people's attention. But
Yeah.
I guess that's where our, bringing sort of these premium recognizable licenses in has really benefited VeVe, because we're not trying to bring you a new product. We're recreating characters and storylines that you already know and love, or that you're already a fan of. So that onboarding experience becomes a lot more seamless as well.
And just let's go into that onboarding experience, man,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the beautiful things I found about it was that you had an iPhone application and an Android application. So it was very easy to jump in. And
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, that's kind of whatever. You guys have done it that way. But then one of the things I was wondering is that how did you do this? Like, is that the core reason of why you've got gems as an in-game currency and things like that? Like, because there's
Yeah,
so much chat around Apple and Android not really being on board with this. I mean, my personal feeling is they are on board. They're just taking they just need a bit more
yeah,
time to sort it out. But yeah, like how did you do that, man? Like, just can you tell
yeah,
us about that? Anything
for
about that at
sure,
all?
for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, that system design, I guess everything about VeVe has been built for the mainstream, right? We never really built this to target the crypto NFT space. And it seems silly to say now, but I mean, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, nobody knew what an NFT was still, maybe 12 months ago.
Yeah, true.
So we definitely designed everything in house to be for that mainstream audience. And with that, I mean, it had to be simple, right? You can't onboard the mainstream and then try to walk them through understanding private keys and blockchain and wallets and crypto and gas and all of these kind of, the rabbit hole things that we've all learnt on the journey. So for us, it was very important to make that process as simple as possible. And to be honest, I mean, that's paid off in trying to acquire some of these licenses as well. We don't need to try to walk any licensors through that learning curve either. You download the app, you can use USD, buy your favorite collectibles, done. So that simplification really helps. Now, obviously, it is built on blockchain, right? And it's underpinned by our token, which I think we'll get to a bit later in more depth. So we had to design a system that could still interact with smart contracts and a token, because there has to be an exchange for that NFT, while the forward-facing experience was easy and comfortable. And that's where the gems really came in. So gems are our forward-facing currency. They make everything simple. There is an Omi wallet in the Android app, but it's not available in the iOS app at the moment for those App Store restrictions. And you're right, I don't know that it's necessarily a huge restriction. I just think they haven't caught up yet to those kind of things. Yeah. So for safety's sake, we've just we have a web wallet as well that people can use to interact with their tokens if they're using iOS. So that's kind of the way we built around that and the reasons we did it.
Okay, well, that makes sense, and there's something I didn't know as well. So on the front end of everything, you're transacting in gems, and then am I right in thinking in the background you guys are doing that in Omi then, and you're moving? Correct. That's how it works, right? Okay, that makes perfect sense, man. So that was a big question for me, and because I've been collecting, so it was a question that was on my mind, and it doesn't bother me. It was, I guess, one of the next question is, so we can move on to that. There's been some. Not rumors, confirmed rumors of a partnership with Immutable X. Yeah. And I'm wondering, are you about to take VeVe on chain? Is that the next stage, or what's going on there? Are you taking it, or what's the deal?
Yeah. So we're actually just migrating the blockchain that we're on. So for the past few years, we've built on top of GoChain, and that was primarily when we set out to build this app. There actually wasn't any other chain or not many available 3 or 4 years ago that could handle the transaction throughput that we anticipated. And even still, it's only recently that these ZK rollups and the Starkware technology has enabled that, right? With Immutable, I think it's 9,000 trades per second or something you can put through, which is enough for us. So yeah, the migration across primarily, it's validation, right? Most NFTs exist on Ethereum, and that's where a lot of the eyeballs are. Now the technology for layer 2 has enabled us to actually leverage that technology and the security of the underlying chain. And once the migration is complete, it opens up a lot more transparency for your assets. They are all secured by blockchain at the moment. Sorry. They are all secured by blockchain at the moment, same as any NFT. It's just that the system we have built is private, essentially, right? We call it a walled garden, and it had to be built that way to suit licensors. But now that they're a lot more comfortable in the industry and NFTs have actually become, a topic of conversation, that learning curve for them has been a lot easier, and it means we can open things up post-migration.
Okay, so you'll be flipping over to Immutable X. So does that mean that then Omi will become the currency of the platform, and that if you want to, you'll buy and sell in Omi, or what's the deal?
So initially nothing will change, right? The user experience will be exactly the same. It's just that the chain now securing our assets is different. But from that migration, we then build in our Omi utilities. So Omi, obviously, like we mentioned, underpins all the transactions on the app. But before long, you'll also be able to use it as a currency within the app. So we're really trying to cater to both crowds at that point. Right? The mainstream will still just transact with US dollars and use gems. And the crypto crowd or any Omi holders can also transact with Omi. So there's a number of utilities on the way. The first and probably most pressing one will be transacting with Omi in the marketplace. So I'll be able to list my collectibles in Omi. If you have the token and would like to pay in Omi, we can transact peer-to-peer. But we also have things like a drop lottery coming in. So you'll be able to wager your tokens, essentially, to try and guarantee a collectible in a drop, after which they'll be burnt, and a few other features coming in. I'll have to look at my
nice.
Yeah. So, and look, all of those features are designed to benefit you as a collector within the app, right? Because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a collector, you'll be able. So that's again very interesting. So as a user, you can either go with the dollars or you can start using Omi. I mean, it'll be very. I'll be really interested to see. I hope we do get to talk again and like which one becomes the more popular.
Yeah.
Because of the way that you've set up, my
Yep.
gut instinct would tell me that dollars might become more popular, but it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. It will be interesting to see. The other real benefit of that is that the bigger the VeVe user base grows, the more people we are essentially directly marketing the token to when it goes live in the app. So even though at the moment it's very sort of mainstream consumer facing, it stands to be quite beneficial for token holders, I think.
Okay, and just like one other question. So just moving in that same kind of area. So when I was a collector of NBA Top Shots, and just recently they've allowed people to move their legend. I think it was only the legendary cards out of kind of Top Shot and on chain into your own wallet, custodial wallet. So I'm just wondering, would it be a process like that? Like I'm thinking specifically about comic books, actually, where is it going to be like a tiered system where maybe you let the guys get out with their secret rares first, and then the kind of commons and uncommons come later? Or is it just going to be a kind of let's do this approach?
Yeah, it will be. It's more of a licensor dependent approach in this instance. So a big part of the reason we're moving to immutable is to enable that interoperability of the assets, because right now they can't leave the VeVe app. Frankly, I mean, nobody else supports the GoChain 721 standard anyway, so there's nowhere to send them. But once we move across, we can enable that interoperability. Now, as to which collectibles or which brands will be able to be sent out, that is the licensor's decision, right? It's their IP. We're just the licensee. But we're of the firm belief that they will all move to interoperability, eventually. But through this process, really from the start, we've kind of handheld the licensors through this to explain the opportunity to them, and we'll continue to do that. The good thing is that the immutable smart contracts enable that perpetual royalty on sales, regardless of where it's sold. If it's on OpenSea or if it's on VeVe or all those kind of things. So,
oh wow, okay, so that's part of it, right?
That's part of it. Yeah, absolutely. And so fundamentally, I mean, from a licensor's point of view, other than the contracts and the legalese that has to be established, they're not losing out by enabling that interoperability. So I think we'll see it full on.
Nice. And I suppose it's a bit of a domino, right? Like you'll see one collection fall in, and then the rest, as you say, like it has with the kind of rollout of the platform, like they'll get some what's the word? Like they'll see it in the wild, as it were, and they'll come to understand it a bit more. I mean, Absolutely. That's really cool. That you're kind of teaching these guys. I think that's great. Right? And just as a kind of side question, I mean, you don't have to reveal anything about who you're with, but hesitancy wise, like I'd be keen to know like what some of the comments were around the hesitancies of it. Like I said, that stupid thing, like what's the point of digital collectibles? Did anybody come with anything like that? Was there anybody in the room that you really had to onboard, or was it kind of you see the value here? Like,
yeah, I think anyone who comes to the space and then questions it that hard walks away from it. I don't. You either kind of come in and understand it and see the opportunity, or you don't. I think we've all probably sat through the it's a JPEG argument, like all of that nonsense.
Every week.
yeah, right. But I guess ours is a bit of an easier sell because we're not reestablishing a brand new brand. We're creating content around the IP that people know and love. So it's, I think a lot of people do come in for that nostalgic value and then learn about the opportunity, or they see that comic that just cost them $7 is now worth $3,000 in the market, 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
That alone isn't. Yeah. So, no, I mean, I've dealt with every question and piece of FUD you could ever imagine in the last 4 years. But the ones that stick around, I mean, that's why we have such a stellar community, and fundamentally, I think people are just having fun, and that's what we want.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. Like it is. I mean, it's been mental this year in regards to NFTs. I think it's crazy, right? Like you and I, obviously, you've been there for 4 years. You've known we knew about this stuff quite a while ago. I was the same, I was looking at $600 crypto punks. Didn't buy one, but was looking at them. But it's been a bonkers year. Do you think it can? I mean, crypto as a currency, as an asset, has had a very up and down, peaks and troughs kind of existence. And I think a lot of people are thinking that NFTs are, at some point, they've got to hit this wall of kind of, it's got to come down. Like, these prices are escalating. I mean, what's your opinion, man? How do you see it? Like, I've got my opinion, but I kind of want to know what you think about. Is it just going to go on forever, Rhys, or like, is it going to be a dip? What's going to happen?
The industry, yes, I think so. Because this is the digitization of culture, right? It's music and art and pop culture and collectibles and just about anything. But NFTs as a technology, I mean, once we start seeing house deeds turned into NFTs and people earning royalties from records or things like that, I mean, the NFT technology and industry is in its absolute infancy. So I don't think that's going anywhere. Are these super memey, speculative dick butts NFTs going somewhere?
You said it, mate. You said it.
I have to admit, I laugh every time I see one of those. I think that there's going to be some very, very hurt people out there on some of those more speculative, unestablished kind of IPs. But I think the punks and the Bored Apes and these early, really community-driven NFTs will survive. And fundamentally, I think a lot of people in crypto, NFTs are like a wrapper for their ETH. It's just a store of value at this point. And most people, if you've got a punk now, you're probably not going to sell it if the market dips. You'll hold it for the next one or hold it forever. So I think some of those will survive. I think the industry at large is only going to be exponentially bigger in the next few years. And hopefully we continue to maintain our place in it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I can't see why you would fall out with such reputable IPs behind you. It doesn't seem it's a great strategy that you guys are employing, and I can't see, if you continue along that line. I mean, another blockchain, just to mention another chain that kind of tried to do what you guys were doing was, and are still, is Wax. Like, Wax have pretty early on in the digital collectible space, they onboarded some pretty good brands. It kind of feels like you guys have overtaken them a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're same thing, right? Wax is agreed. They've been around for years, and we've all been building in the same space. But it's that onboarding experience that really limits your market size. Because you really are relying on crypto users to care enough to want to come and collect your brands or use your chain. Migrate their assets. All of those things are barriers to entry. And I think have probably held some of these other companies back a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. 4 years ago, how did you guys think, we're talking about mainstream branding, mainstream appeal. But 4 years ago, as we've all said, like, no one was talking about NFTs. So you guys were pretty brave to be jumping in at that point to something so, what was the kind of motivation there? Like, that is super ballsy.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. And I mean, you think crypto has some ups and downs. The last 4 years of our lives, like, I think even in the early days, Dave and Dan, you always talk about, like, there was a few meetings. As soon as they mentioned the word blockchain, they were ushered out the door. Because especially like in that bear market, nobody wanted to touch blockchain or crypto. And
sure, yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, of course. I didn't even think about the context of it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And as a licensor, like, you don't want to attach your name to something that is that volatile, and obviously that helped to guide the way we build things. But you're right. It took the tenacity of Dan and Dave, and as you said, their balls just to go after these things. Now, we're very blessed. Our SVP of licensing is a man by the name of Mr. Al Khan. Everyone in our community will be very familiar with him. Do you know that name? Alfred?
I've heard the name, not familiar with his work as such, but heard the name.
Alfred is the man who found and licensed Pokemon in the 90s. He's literally the guy that named it Pokemon from Pocket Monsters. Also worked with, Nintendo and licensed Yu-Gi-Oh!, Cabbage Patch Kids. I think he even said it in an interview we did recently, of the top 10 grossing kids brands and entertainment products, he's responsible for 6 of them.
Wow.
And thinks VeVe will be the 7th. So he obviously comes with a lifetime of connections and opportunities in the licensing space, and helped to mainline us into those meetings early. And then over the last few years, we've just gone back time and time again, shown these licensors each iteration of the app, and our vision had expanded and their understanding had expanded. But yeah, a lot of these deals have been in the works for multiple years to bring to fruition, which is also why we know that we've hit the ground running, and we're kind of first to market with these IPs, and we're likely to be the only ones with them for quite a while. So
yeah, I was going to ask, they're predictably, like not predictably, assumably they're kind of like exclusive deals that you sign, and it's like a period of time, a bit like a sort of musical artist or whatever. You lock them in for a period of time to release collectibles. If they're still happy, they continue, that kind of vibe, right? They're not allowed to go and ship them around on other blockchains.
Well,
Sure.
it's not that they're not exclusive, right? These companies are licensing companies, and they make their money by renting out their IP, essentially. But they're not stupid either, right? They're not going to dilute their own product by releasing the same thing across multiple chains, because that's no good for their fans. Obviously, they're releasing these things specifically with us as collectible items, so it would actually damage their brand to then go and dilute those things. So yeah, in that sense, officially nothing's exclusive, but in terms of our arrangements and deals, I mean, yeah, I don't think we'll see them anywhere else.
Got it. Nice. And do they show? We spoke about the marketing side a little while ago. Do they show some sort of longevity in this, that they can see?
Oh yeah.
How this might, you buy a digital collectible for a new Marvel movie, which is actually a ticket. Like, are they thinking about stuff like that, like the rest of the industry is looking at?
Yep. We've actually already done it. So we released James Bond 2 weeks ago, something like that, to celebrate the new movie, and we released an NFT that also came with 7 movie tickets, to actually go and see it in the cinema. So there's those kind of utilities coming. We announced Disney yesterday, Disney, Pixar, Star Wars, and Marvel. But Marvel,
let's talk about that, man. Like, don't just keep past it. These are like 3 of the biggest names in the world. Let's talk about this. Like, so yeah, tell us, man. You've onboarded some fairly big names in the last couple.
Fairly big names, yeah. As far as IP goes, look, I think Disney. Obviously, that conversation has been on the table for quite a while, and they've been watching our journey with Marvel quite closely, and have decided that now is the time to jump in. Now, for us, these initial drops, it's a celebration of Disney Plus Day. So really, we're celebrating those iconic moments in Disney's history across those IPs, whether it's coming from Disney or Pixar or Star Wars. And anybody who purchases one of these collectibles is also entitled to 3 months free subscription to Disney Plus. There is a 12-month subscription as well, for anyone who gets the ultra rare or secret rare on the last day. So we're really starting to roll out these real world utilities with the collectibles now, and obviously, I haven't stopped smiling since that announcement came out, because it's probably the biggest thing.
Tell us those names again, Rhys. Come on.
Yeah, Disney, Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel.
Wow.
And just to touch on what we spoke about a second ago, I mean, these companies don't, they're not just signing a deal with us; they're putting their weight behind us, right? They've chosen VeVe as the platform, so they're obviously now incentivized. To obviously financially, but to their fan base to support what we're doing. People just love to call me today.
That must be the guy from Disney, right? They want to up
Yeah, stop talking.
Sorry, mate. Call back later.
Yeah, that's it. But it's one of those IPs that we obviously now have years worth of content, and some of the most collectible brands that have ever existed, for an app that we've only been live for 12 months. I mean, I think it's such a monumental announcement, and one I'm really excited to share with everybody.
So it would appear that's going to push you guys into the next into the next level,
That's
right? You're gonna, and that's the hope, that's the
that's the
ambition.
hope. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's the beauty of the licensing too, right? I mean, every new license or brand that we add to the platform brings an established fan base with it, right? And we don't need to capture 100% of that fan base. So even 1 or 2% making that digital transition is enough to get that snowball moving. But we have, I mean, we always say more than 100 brands. We're probably over 150 brands and artists these days, and we've still only seen a fraction of those hit the platform. So, yeah, I think as a retention kind of strategy, as a marketing kind of thing, it's kind of seamless when you roll out a new brand.
Yeah, definitely, man. And just going back to the onboarding side, Rhys, because it was something I wanted to ask you actually. I don't know if you know, but obviously you went with the Android and the iOS app. Is there any, can you reveal anything about the sort of numbers you onboarded? Because it must be pretty big, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's literally increasing by thousands, per day or per week.
Per day. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, especially, once we started to roll out the Marvel stuff, like Marvel shares all of our content across their socials and on their website and the press releases and things too. So, it's been a bit easier to bring that in. Now, I think the latest figures we're using, we have, over 500,000 active monthly users, which means, those users are opening the app at least sort of 3 or 4 times per week. Downloads, we're probably closer to 7, 8, 900,000 these days. But yeah, and then there's usually a bit of a lag time between those downloads and those users becoming active monthly users.
Okay.
So for the first year of operation to be, sitting on more than 500,000 users, I mean, that's more than there are wallets registered on OpenSea, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in terms of
you're doing all right, I would say. Yeah.
we're doing all right. We're doing all right, and as
it's going quite well.
Yeah, and I would imagine Disney is about to bring in some fresh faces too, which is just as exciting.
Well, demographic wise, it's a bit different as well, isn't it? I mean, I'm guessing with this, it's kind of an 18 plus thing, or is it, because it's transactions and it's money, but parents can do it and stuff like that. I guess they can be gifts and things.
Yeah, they can, and I mean, we find that VeVe has actually brought a lot of families closer together because they all VeVe together or try to get the drops together.
Oh man, Rhys, that's a really. I'll share something with you. I'm in a group of people, and we're on the comics, right? So we've been into the comics from day one, and we're doing it as a gang. And that point you just made there is, we're doing it because we want to make some money, and we're collecting, and we're doing this. But it's actually brought 10 people together from my old school days, where we don't talk that much anymore. And now we're in a Telegram chat, and every week, Tuesday, Thursday, we're on the trigger. And I can see that, man. Like it's not all about the money sometimes, is it? It's about the.
No, that's it. And look, I know that the money is probably what brings more people to the app, that opportunity. But then once people plug into our community and figure out the ways to use the app, I think most people stay just because they're having fun doing it too. Which is, I hope so anyway.
It's pretty intuitive. I mean, I've got a couple of questions lined up here. Sorry. So, as we said at the beginning, there's $10 worth of Omi for grabs to anyone who wants to throw a question into the mix. So, if anyone's got a question out there, feel free, man. $10 up for grabs.
That'll come up for sure. Yeah.
Lovely assistant Shyla, who will push us forward with any questions. But if there isn't any, we'll carry on. That's cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
I wanted to ask you it's maybe a bit of a touchy topic for you, mate, but let's see how you deal with it. Hang on a second. We've got a new entry here. Tommy V Tommy. Hello.
Hey, good morning. My mic coming through?
Yep.
Great. Hey, yeah, thanks, Rhys and Ian, for hosting. Learning a lot today, and excited to see where the marketplace goes. And exciting news yesterday with Disney. Curious if you could speak a little bit more about some of the utility that the OMI token will bring. And, I think it's exciting how much you focused on the onboarding for folks that maybe aren't, crypto maximalists or people that are super technologically advanced. How do you see that? If you could speak more about that parallel path, 6 months, 12 months in the future, where I can purchase VeVe collectibles with, fiat currency, dollars, or I can use the OMI token, and how that kind of will weave into the user experience from a product perspective and the benefit for the users to use the OMI token. So sorry, a little bit rambly, but I'm just curious to see how you picture that product evolving along that path.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and I'll try to do this as succinctly as possible. So, two things to understand: because all of the transactions on VeVe are underpinned by the Omi token, as the mainstream collector purchases collectibles, even using US dollars, it's actually burning tokens from our in-app reserve. Now, longer term, we use a fund of buybacks to buy the token back from exchanges and top up that reserve. So even if the mainstream user doesn't ever touch Omi or use it, just buying collectibles and using the app is still benefiting token holders in the background. Now, when the token utilities are added to the app, one, obviously going to be great news for all our token holders who would rather transact with Omi instead of fiat, or dump more in there. So I think first and foremost, it should just put some smiles on faces. But longer term, I mean, we've already kind of got the plans to develop past the app, right? So the new utilities will help to burn tokens from the circulating supply, but then we look ahead to the VeVe-verse. So we're obviously, or maybe not obviously, but if you don't know, we're building our own metaverse as well, which will start as an extension of the app, but really move towards this digital theme park type metaverse, I think is probably the best way to explain it, within which you'll also be able to use your Omi tokens to buy land, for example, or to gain other benefits and access. So, in terms of it evolving within the product, I think that the more eyes and the larger audience we can grow now before the token is added, the more people we can actually just introduce to that crypto rabbit hole or the Omi rabbit hole when it's added to the app. And obviously with the IPs we have and the demand for these collectibles, any benefit you can get, people will try to take. And Omi is going to provide one of those benefits with the drop lottery, for example, and access to exclusive accessories and some of those things as well. So yeah, fundamentally, I think that it's only going to be more integrated into our products, and we're going to handhold the mainstream through using it and understanding it as well.
Great, thanks. Makes a lot of sense. Exciting.
No worries.
Next question, Austin, with your VeVe collectible avatar, I think there.
Yeah, it is. I got Robin. Just want to talk to Rhys. Hey, Rhys, how's it going? Long time no talk. Literally talked to him yesterday. No big deal. I was wondering what collectible, or not, more generally, out of the three that are dropping on November 12th, which one are you most excited about? So from Pixar, Star Wars, Disney, or Marvel?
So just to clarify, they're not all dropping on the 12th. We start dropping them on the 7th. And we drop up to the 12th. So there'll be quite a few things to keep an eye out for. If I'm honest, I'm excited for Star Wars, but I'm more excited for that because of everybody else's stock. I really want to see what the reaction is when people see what we're releasing and all of those things. So that's probably one I'm looking for, but I think the ongoing relationship with Pixar is probably going to be the most nostalgic for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem. I won't name any brands because one, I don't know what we're dropping, and two, it'll just cost. But we'll leave it at that.
Hashtag not financial advice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Austin. Good question, man. I think that KW Champ, you were next.
Yeah. Hi.
Morning,
Ian. Hi, Rhys. Morning, Rhys. Yeah. So.
Oh. Just
He's gone.
CK.
Oh yeah, don't worry. He kicked me off because he knows which question is coming. Yeah, we were discussing on the Discord. So there were a couple of season 1 collectibles that obviously, due to possibly something to do with licensing, were kind of like casually kind of removed. So one was the Midnight Cthulhu that was on the Medium article, but we never really heard anything about that. And then the other one was the Spider-Man on the Ultraman. I understand why that one was kind of like removed from the Medium article. And then also, I think there was a Pikachu as well somewhere. So are we going to be seeing these collectibles anytime soon?
Yeah, depends on the licensor. I thought we dropped the Midnight Cthulhu. We didn't do that one then.
No, it was
No.
on the Medium article, but there was like no official announcement put out about it. It just like didn't happen.
It's disappeared. It'll probably just get pushed to the next release. Yeah, usually when something like that happens, there's too much back and forth with the licensor, or something doesn't get approved in time, and then it just doesn't make it into the drop. As to whether we'll see that, I think it will get pushed to the next drop or whatever, but we'll have to wait and see what the next Cryptkins drop is, for example, or that kind of thing.
All right.
Nice.
I think Dog was next. Sorry, Kay. Does that answer? Are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thank you.
All right, man. Good question.
Hey guys,
Dog,
thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to hear more about this this metaverse or the VeVeverse and how it compares. I mean, all these other companies that are starting to come out with metaverses and some that are already successful, and I kind of see the VeVeverse having an advantage because you actually have the ability to add these licensed. I don't know if they're going to be avatars or the collectibles, or just going to be collectibles in the VeVeverse, or are we going to have the ability to use them as avatars, or like drive the spaceship or cars, DeLorean, for example, to be able to drive it around this VeVeverse. I mean, that's pretty cool. I just wanted to know if that's the intent, or if it's just going to be a place for collectors to socialize.
Yeah, it absolutely is the intent. Yeah. Initially, the VeVeverse will be more of an extension of the showrooms that we have at the moment. They essentially become your home in the VeVeverse, and from that we build out gamification, social experiences, all of those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, I would love to drive my DeLorean to my mate's place in the VeVeverse, or fly my Enterprise there, or things like that. So, those levels of gamification will obviously take quite a while to build in, and still be licensor dependent, as it would be technically a new use of their IP. But that's definitely the longer. I mean, fundamentally, we're trying to build Ready Player One. Now that's a 10-year project, and we need a hell of a lot of devs to be able to do it. But as you said, the same advantage that the VeVe app has, we have in the VeVeverse. We have licensed branded content, and this isn't confirmation at all, but I would love to see like a digital Disneyland, and you walk out of that digital Disneyland, and VeVe is the gift shop or the merchandise shop, where you take home your digital memorabilia or collectibles. So I think that's kind of the future we're headed towards.
And I guess the currency would be Omi to be able to purchase memorabilia.
In everything that we do, yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Great question, Dog. How's in 20?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Rhys, I have to once again congratulate all of you for the amazing thing. I mean, you may have heard this a billion times, but with the amount of questions that are raised during development, I think it doesn't hurt to remind you again, guys. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's really impressive. That being said, those
Good shot.
those drops that are coming up to the 12th of November, do you think they'll be dropping before or after this long-awaited and really expected transition to Immutable X?
The transition to Immutable X is all taking place in the background, right? It's not like there's there will be one final transition where we essentially press the play button, but all of the development work has kind of been completed and is in the background there. So as soon as our CTO says we can move across, we'll move across. But as a forward-facing thing, it makes no difference to you guys what chain we're on to be able to drop these collectibles. So seeing as the 7th of November is pretty close, I mean, it might all happen at the same time. We might get these drops out of the way, then move across just so that there's less stress on the ecosystem. Because obviously we don't want to screw up a Disney drop more than anything. And then, we roll straight from the 12th is the start of DesignerCon, and then we're rolling out, a whole range of new artists and other drops as well. So, I mean, if I had the choice, I would probably wait until all of that was done before we put that stress on the ecosystem. But the more intelligent people will make those decisions.
Lovely, thank you.
No worries.
Thanks, Hausen. Great question, man. Ludwig.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks for having me up, and I second what last guy said. Congratulations to all of you. I know you guys are working your butts off, so what you've accomplished is so awesome. Got a quick question for you. Now that you've released or announced the partnership with Disney, how long has something like that been in the works? Have you guys been working with them since 2018 to kind of iron out the details before you can announce it? What goes into what's the time frame in working with a massive vendor like that?
So most of these licensing deals take somewhere between 12 to 18 months to finalize. The actual initial agreement can happen in 5 minutes. That can be a conversation, but when you're dealing with IP as big as Disney, they have legal teams that are bigger than our team, our entire team put together. So there's always a bit of lead time there. For Disney specifically, I mean, we did a lot of the work in establishing the Marvel deal, which had been on the table for about 18 months prior. And presumably, Disney obviously had a look in and had a hand in doing their due diligence on us at that stage. So I'd like to think that the finalization of the Disney deal probably happened a bit quicker, purely because that work had already been done. But yeah, typically these things are on the table for a long time before they come to fruition.
Awesome. Nice. Thank you. And one more quick question. You had mentioned, or someone had mentioned previously, that animation was coming to a previously released NFT. Is that still planned for, sometime before the end of the year?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Fair enough. All right. Thanks, Rhys. Appreciate your time, man. Have a good one.
No worries.
Thanks, man. King Marco, got a question?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Welcome.
Hey, I just had a question about the I guess about the collectibles. When it comes to the rarity of collectibles, we see Secret Rare as being the top, but on the tutorial of the app, I guess most recently, you see Elusive as another rarity. Is there something with that?
No, there shouldn't be any elusive category of rarity. When we first started VeVe, Secret Rare was kind of this elite, very, very, very rarely dropped or mentioned kind of ranking, I suppose. And it was originally designed that you might have to go to a Comic-Con to get a Secret Rare or something like that. But as the platform has developed over the past 12 months, it actually just made a lot more sense to have that as another rank of rarity, to help to discern between these things. So Secret Rare is and always will be the top ranking rarity there. But yeah, that's kind of. Does that answer your question?
It does. One quick other question. When it comes to, I guess, the categories of like animation, statues, and I guess still life, is there any other categories that you can, I guess, talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, when we look at the collectibles specifically, we typically have three sort of buckets. You've got static, animated, and interactive. So the statics would be, say, black and white, Batman Black and White Series 1. It's just that premium 3D model. Animated might be, the Ritmo, for example. If you've seen the Ritmo, has its own little animation. The DeLorean, you can open the doors and turn the wheel. And then interactive, which we really haven't gotten that far into yet. I mean, we've seen, some of the Spider-Mans you can tap and they jump, but we've been building the ability to actually control your collectible vehicles in augmented reality like a little remote control car. If you go on Twitter and search, drivable DeLorean VeVe or something like that, you'll actually see some demo videos of that. And at that stage, we're really moving into the realm of digital toys, not just digital collectibles. So that's definitely where the next phase of these collectibles go. And then obviously with the NFT ecosystem that we have, you can add new utilities to them, be it in the app or the VeVeverse. Like if I own all of the Batman Black and White series, I might get exclusive access to a Batman showroom or to a Batman game or something like that. So yeah, the interactivity is something that we really haven't seen too much of yet, but we definitely will start seeing it.
Wow, thank you.
No problem.
Good question, man. Sorry, Ward, you've been there for a while, man. Sorry. Got a question?
No problem. How you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Real quick, first of all, good job on the Disney announcement.
Thank you. I will take all credit for this announcement.
Whatever happened to the NFLPA, and it was supposed to roll out with the season?
Yeah, the hardest thing with these companies and licensors is that these deals roll out when they tell us they can roll out. So if there's some issue or something else in the works, there's always a reason for it, and we wait for their word more than anything. So I personally was expecting it for the start of the season. I don't know if they've now pivoted their plans, but we do have some news coming for our sports vertical, hopefully sooner than later. So I'd just say sit tight for that in the meantime.
All right, sounds great. All I can say as an investor and someone who is a huge sports addict, when something changes like that.
Oh, we just lost you on the end there. You might have to re-enable your mic.
Ward, you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
All right, all I was saying was, as an investor and someone who's big in sports and loves your app, it would just be nice if y'all would let the community know when something gets pushed back or doesn't work, so we're not waiting on it.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, we've probably made the mistake too many times of trying to guesstimate a time frame on some of these things. And you're right, it does lead to that expectation and then disappointment when it doesn't come off. The hard place we're in is if we don't share anything, we get abused for not sharing anything. And if we do share some stuff, we get abused when it doesn't come off. So it's, we really try to find that balance between giving you as much information as we can without sort of backing ourselves against a wall more than anything. But I agree with you. Yeah, well, it's something I've taken on board since then.
All right, man, I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, guys, we're coming to the end of the session, so I've got a couple more questions. There's 3 people in here now, so I'll take your questions. That's Rajiv and Rhys and Raven. So Rajiv, you're first, man.
Hey, Rhys, how's it going, man? Congrats on the Disney deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I know you guys spoke about Omi to NFT at some point in the future. I just wanted to know, because I think you're saying there's some app store restrictions and stuff for which you might need to build a web component to all of this. So I was just wondering, if you could maybe tell us what the web component, what part it'll play, and do you think that we will have drops on the web one day, or would it be just simply to circumvent some of the app store loophole hurdles and stuff like that?
Yeah. So the web platform is pretty well built, and it is at this stage a mirror of the app, right? So everything you can do in the app, you'll be able to do on your desktop, including participate in drops. It will make building showrooms and things like that much more functional because you can use a mouse, and it should be a lot easier to use. So the initial web platform will mirror the app. I think longer term, a lot of the user experience will move onto that web browser or web platform, and the phone might become more of a, it's a way to show off your collectibles still. I'm sure plenty of people will still use it. But once we start getting into the VeVeverse, that kind of implementation will be built on the web platform. I think built and accessed much more easily on the web platform. So I'm expecting the user experience to move there, or more of it to move to the web platform. And at the same time, that opens access to a much wider audience, right? Not everybody has the most modern smartphone. right? And I think at the moment you can't even download the app if your phone doesn't support augmented reality, things like that. So yeah, I think the web platform will open that up. From a payments point of view, yes, we will have our own payments gateway. So any sort of purchasing limitations that are currently put on by the app stores, we can take away. Hopefully accept other currencies and things moving forward once that system is established, because I know a lot of people obviously lose out on fees at the moment with the App Store. So yeah, I'm really hoping the web platform opens access and makes things a bit fairer across the board.
That sounds great, man. Any idea when that might be coming?
Soon. Yeah, I mean it's been, the web platform is almost there. It will take some testing and some other things, but yeah, it's definitely an implementation we want to get rolling as soon as we can as well.
Good question, Rajiv. Thanks, man. Okay, I think we've got 2 more people in here, but I'm not sure if they're actually connected. Let's start with Raven21.
Yeah, just so I can mute.
The guy, I can't pronounce
Hey
that.
guys, can you hear me?
Oh, yo, how you doing?
Hey, hey Rhys, congrats on Disney. Just got a question regarding the MCP program. Like, I was seeing on the forums, someone was saying that that if you transfer your collectibles to other people, that it won't count towards the
Yeah.
program.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
No. So there's this article will come out and explain everything anyway. But there's 2 ways essentially to earn points. There's one-off points in the app, which you get for buying a collectible on a drop, or transacting in the market, that kind of thing. And there's daily accrual points, where you earn points for the collectibles or the sets that you hold, right? And that daily accrual kind of collects in your account. So what that misunderstanding was that people thought if they had a collectible transferred to them, they'd never earn any points from that. And what it should have clarified is that you obviously won't get those one-off points because you didn't purchase the collectible. Someone sent it to you.
Right.
But if that collectible, has now completed one of your sets, or, added to your overall holdings, you'll earn those daily accrual points. So the only difference is you don't get those one-off points if someone was transferred.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because I was like, oh, me and my wife actually try to collect, and my wife is more of a collector, so I usually keep all the collections on her account.
Yeah. And look, all of that was our fault. We didn't nail down the verbiage properly, and probably shouldn't have spoken to it until this article came out. But really, it helped us to refine the messaging we were putting out there. So hopefully it's all cleared up sooner than later.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification, and you guys are doing an amazing job. Keep up the good work.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
man. Great question. All right, last question. And I can't pronounce this.
Anti-Chris?
Anti-Chris. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to pronounce it all English, right? Anti-Chris. Are you there, Anti-Chris?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can.
We can.
Awesome, man. Okay. Congratulations on Disney, first of all. And just one main question with a follow-up to go with that. The first one, what are your biggest time-consuming technical blockers for getting Immutable X going? And the follow-up that follows that is, once Immutable X is all completed, out of all the American exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, which one of those would you say would be the easiest to transition to once Immutable is finished?
All right, so I'll start with the first part. Technical blockers, we're moving a hell of a lot of stuff, first and foremost, right? And we're dealing with people's money and a lot of assets. So, and months of dev work have gone into actually getting that across. And then when we went to remint on layer 2, for example, and we're now over probably close to 2 million NFTs that we have to kind of create or remint over there. I think it was going to take 6 days or 7 days initially to mint all of those, which meant we would have to take the market offline for that amount of time, because as these collectibles are minted, they have to be reattributed to your accounts on layer 2. All of those things, right? So that was definitely a blocker, and our devs worked with the Immutable devs to optimize that process. And there's been a few of those instances, right? Because like, okay, Ethereum's been around for a while now, but Starkware hasn't, Validium rollups haven't, Immutable has only been live for 4 or 5 months or something like that. So we're once again dealing with the bleeding edge of technology, and as always with development, there's been things that were unexpected. So forward facing, I think that's probably the biggest hurdle. Now, post migration, we are obviously migrating the Omi token to being an ERC20 token as well, which does open up access to every exchange, just about every exchange that lists Ethereum. Yeah, because being on GoChain has been a blocker for us in getting listings, right? Especially once we established that we were going to migrate from an exchange point of view. What's the point of the months of dev work to integrate a new protocol if you're just going to swap anyway?
Indeed.
So yeah, in terms of listing accessibility, I know we've already got a few exchanges lined up, but I'm not going to name them because it will end up in 40 YouTube videos in 5 minutes. And
yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
So,
appreciate the candidness.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, man. It was really good. All right, so we've come to the end of the session. I think I better wrap this up by congratulating Rhys on Disney, because he hasn't had any congratulations on that yet. So let's make sure that one's nailed. But yeah, thank you so much, man. I think everyone will agree that Rhys is a great ambassador for the brand, and that he delivers the messages really well, and he's very articulated with what he says. And I think he's answered all the questions I had very well, and all of your questions very well. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up now. I just want to thank everybody for attending. We've got a nice number of people here. Yeah, and I think we're going to end up doing this again, Rhys, to be honest, because it sounds like you've got so much coming. We're going to have to dig in again, man. So
yeah,
I don't think this will be the last time, right?
No, it's too much coming. And right back at you, mate. Big thank you for hosting, Shyla, for organizing as well. I know she's floating around the audience, and of course to everybody who turned up. We really appreciate your time and commitment. Yeah, definitely, man. Thank you for taking your time out to come and listen to us waffle about your favorite products. That's really cool. Just from a DApp Radar side, we do this every Thursday. We have a market makers session on Thursday, so anyone who's interested in learning more about dApps and the markets overall as general should jump in. But yeah, let's wrap this up, man. Thank you so much for your time, Rhys. It's been awesome. And thank you, everyone else. Cheers. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye. Bye.